moderating.
Good day, and welcome to this in the first of programs that we're going to call Discussions on the Manifesto 2015. I have in studio with me Dr. Peter Ramsaroop, and he is a candidate for the PPP Civic 2015 slate. He's an economist and a businessman, and he's going to be opening the discussions on the manifesto. Good day, Mr. Ramsaroop.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Pleasure.
studios here. Let's start looking at this manifesto. It's called Guyana Version 2.0 Vision 2020. What is it? What is it all about? Let's get into it and give us an idea what we're talking about here.
Well, it's much more than the document that has been released to the public. I mean, we have published the version, was released on April 25th, last Saturday, by President Donald Ramsaroop. It is an integrated plan, basically, that is positioned to transform our national posture of our economy. That is describing in detail many different components of running the business of a country. President Ramsaroop and his cabinet and the People's Progressive Party has, over the years, developed strategic goals and direction in terms of how they will run Guyana. In addition to that, many of the plans that were started over the last, say, let's just go back 10 years, have been implemented. And that is what a lot of us refer to as version 1.0. I use the description of Windows version for those who understand technology. Windows had Windows 7.
Yeah.
And then Windows came out with Windows 8. People said, well, what's the difference? Well, Windows 8 had new features such as security, upgrades, faster speed. Same thing with version 2.0. You could not have gotten to version 2.0 if version 1.0 wasn't done. So our infrastructure has been put in place. The achievements of examples such as the Berbice Bridge, such as primary education across the country, integration of technology, better governance. Those are components that have been established by the PPPC over the last decade plus that now gives us the opportunity to implement version 2.0.
You say it will allow us to transform Guyana. So we're transforming from what we already had. Why you say transform?
Well, when you're transforming, as I said, you've built the foundation. It's like building a house. You've got that foundation built. Now you're putting up the pillars and you're putting on the roof. In looking at where we're at, for example, and I go back to a strong example of the Berbice Bridge, as I consider that version 1.0. Prior to the Berbice Bridge, a truck driver had to spend 3 hours at Rossignol Stelling to cross, to come to bring their goods to market at the wharf in Georgetown. That business had to pay that truck driver for all days' worth of work while they just sit at the bridge and twiddle their thumbs. Now that truck driver can come all the way to Georgetown, back to Berbice, and back to Georgetown in a day. So that business person, the rice farmer, the rice millers, now able to get goods to market faster. So when people say that the tolls may be high, it actually, when you run the economics of it, the opportunity loss costs that would have happened if that driver was just sitting at the Stelling, whilst now that driver can get to Georgetown and back. That's a version 1.0. So we have improved the goods transportation in that one example. And so when you say transforming now to the next level of our national posture, with that infrastructure now, we can look at components, and I'll list a few of them in the manifesto, such as the Deepwater Harbor in Berbice. With a Deepwater Harbor now, you're able to attract the larger ships, more goods going out of our market, but then the Deepwater Harbor is connected to the road to Brazil. And that's what we term transport-led economics. So when you combine those components, now a truck coming from northern Brazil to the Deepwater Harbor, brings that goods to the Deepwater Harbor. That, without things like the Berbice Bridge, could not have happened. Because imagine that truck driver trying to get to the Deepwater Harbor doesn't have time to wait 3 hours for selling. And that now brings new economics to our country. Carrying that example just further, is that truck now coming from northern Brazil passed through probably 100 villages or more as it comes. As every time an exit off of that road, that village community has the ability now to create opportunities in order to make money. That truck driver going to need to stop for gas, is need to stop for sleeping, maybe maintenance on the truck, the wheels is punctured. All of that create new economics. Then just carrying that example a little further, that truck now bringing the goods from northern Brazil to the Deepwater Harbor in Berbice is never going to go back empty. And what is going to go back on that truck is our cash crops, is items that Brazil needs. For example, Brazil is one of the largest producers of sugar cake in the world.
Okay.
Imagine if we expand our coconut industry, which is part of the manifesto. Now those coconuts, whether we grade the coconuts, whether we sell the coconuts, the whole goes back with that truck now to Brazil. So version 2.0 allows that transformation of what we have built so far to create that new economics that will create wealth and more income for everybody that touches that system now.
So it's a continued evolution
Absolutely.
of the economic growth.
So the plan that you mentioned, this plan is not created just for election. This has been a continuous plan over the last decade that shows an integration. Now, as you tie the economics, you got to tie that, for example, to education.
Yeah.
And with education now, you look at your curriculum. So if you think of Deepwater Harbor, what do you need for Deepwater Harbor?
Well, I was going,
Yeah.
I was, you went ahead, but I'm thinking now, these opportunities will be created, yes, but someone might want to say, well, yes, the trucks will pass through, but what guarantee we have that it will stop at my village? What guarantee is there that I can benefit from the increased trade or increased movement of people? How will I benefit from that, or the ordinary person out there?
Well, the opportunities abound. I mean, the manifesto gives us the ability and the plan to execute. Now, as an individual, if I'm listening to the president talk about that road to Brazil and the Deepwater Harbor, I've got to start thinking now, do I look for a piece of land where that road is going to be paved? Do I think of what business could I get into that will attract that trade truck, not just truck driving, I mean tourism, other opportunities on that road. What would I do to ensure that I benefit from that economic goal activity? So the plan brings that together. And as a young person going to university, and I believe the university now will have to adapt to these new industries. Their curriculum will need to change. I may want to study logistics management or maritime management or engineering.
So does the manifesto address these issues, recognizing that they will need to look at different types of jobs, creating new types of jobs?
And that's what one of our
new skill types.
One of our goals in this plan is what we call the creation of wealth. All of us, regardless of our status in society, wants to make more money. And why do we want more? We want to take care of our families. We want to make sure our children have a great education. Those are dreams a parent or a young person have, is to be successful in life. This now allows us to be able to say to the education system, let me study logistics, let me study technology, let me study maritime management. And these are higher level paying jobs. Now, not everyone will go to university, but think of the mechanics of fixing those trucks.
The technicians.
The technicians. So you now have a career progression. A lot of us complain around Guyana, we don't have the ability for career progression. You know, I'm stuck in my job. Now you may be able to diversify. You know, I may be a great mechanic today, but the fact is I may want to own my own trucks in the future to be able to move these goods now to market. And if you add one more piece to the manifesto as part of, I think if we stick with transport economics alone, the president has outlined the bridging to Suriname. Now, you think of bridging the Corentyne River. Now you've got access to markets in Paramaribo, Naikiri, that you didn't have before. So again, if I'm sitting anywhere in Guyana, I may want to now look at what Suriname needs and how do I get my goods to market.
You're an economist, so you will understand these things. But there are people who might say, so what? I mean, I don't have a business. How exactly, or my business is a small business. How can I benefit? What benefit will this bring to me? What real benefit will it bring to me?
It's a supply chain a process. Going back to that one example.
In terms of opening markets?
Yes, a new market. So I may be growing cash crops in Region 5. And I may only have planting maybe an acre of okra. But the fact now that truck going back to Brazil, or now some new trade exists with Paramaribo, or the Deepwater Harbor, I may want to grow more okra or bora or other cash crops in order to get it to market faster. The Caribbean now imports close to $800 million worth of
vegetables.
$4 billion worth of imports of fresh fruits and vegetables. A lot of it come from Thailand. Imagine if we just get a little piece of that market, because now we have the ability to get it on a ship faster to Trinidad. And one more key initiative that the president has proposed, which was done in 2011 and was disapproved by the opposition in Parliament, is the expansion of the Chedijagan Airport. And what does that expansion do? That expansion brings larger aircraft, it brings more frequent aircraft, reduces the cost of cargo. That means, again, if I'm a farmer, cash crops, or I have certain other products, goods to market, I want to expand. So going back to your question, how do I benefit individual? By looking at these new industries that we have proposed as version 2.0, building on the foundation that the PP has done over the last decade, I now have the ability to realize that dream, to say, you know what, I want to be the best farmer, I want to make more money on what I produce, and going back to one more key aspect of the manifesto, which, as again, if you realize what the president has proposed as an integrated plan. So he's called for the Amalia Falls Energy Hydro Project. That again was disapproved by the opposition. Now with cheaper energy, I can manufacture my goods cheaper in Guyana. So I may not want to grow the cashews only. I now may want to package it and get it. So the question that you asked is very, very, very focused, because absolutely every citizen in our country, regardless of race, color, creed, your hairstyle, you would be able to benefit from it because the opportunity exists now. A lot of us always in the past, under the era of the PNC opposition, many people left looking for opportunities outside of Guyana, including my family. And when you look at the future of Guyana in the next 5 years, the last 5 years of the decade, our 2020 vision will realize that modern society where the opportunities for my children now exist right in our country. Okay. And that's the exciting part that I am excited about, to see this plan come to fruition and implement it. As all of us, it's not about the president and the PPP government. It's about all of us working together, voting in Donald Ramotar as the president of our country, and ensuring that this plan is effective by contributing to the development of our Vision 2020.
You'll find that people will say, look, I am a simple farmer. The chances that I can benefit or I can become an exporter of my produce is very slim. How can they benefit if they think that they're unable? Are you going to be setting up like institutions where people can move from strength to strength? Because exporting vegetables and greens, you have to meet certain standards and so on. Is it part of the manifesto to ensure that there are systems in place to train people and enable them to produce at the standard that these produce could be exported? If you want to get into canning, what can be done loans available from the banks and these things to expand industry?
Yeah, I'll give you one example. The president has also called and are in the process of implementing a national support system for the rice farmers, for example, to ensure that they're paid on time and get their product to the millers get their product to the export. But an addition, which is even prior to the manifesto, the president commissioned the plant in Essequibo that will now turn part of our rice into cereal. So as a farmer, I want to grow more rice because it's not just about the export of our rice anymore. In fact, if we are producing a value-added product of cereal in our country, not just for the local market, now for the export market, that brings, again, value to the rice farmer. If we move to sugar, absolutely the PP government has called for growing more sugar. The opposition has said we're going to close the sugar industry. You cannot. We need to grow more sugar. And by growing more sugar, we're not just going to have sugar cane for export, because sugar prices have gone down. With cheaper manufacturing and because of our energy costs with the hydro, we will then produce packaged sugar. We already started doing that. We're going to move to white sugar. We're going to move to expanding the Albion ethanol plant. Ethanol, for those who don't understand, is a blend of fuel that mixed with gasoline. And it's what we call a E10 policy, for example. 10% of ethanol mixed with gasoline can run in our cars today. 15% can run in our cars. So with ethanol now, with the blend, you bring the price of gas down. So now you can drive much farther on a cheaper gallon of gas. So that's, again, more money in my pocket. When I have more money in my pocket, now I'll be able to build a better house, send my children for a better education.
That the cost of transportation would go down.
So,
and with the cost of transportation going down, goods and services
go down. So going back to my initial premise, an integrated plan that says, okay, if we grow more sugarcane, we then produce 50,000 liters a year, approximately, of ethanol. Now, Brazil is the largest producer of ethanol in the world. Imagine we're right next door to Brazil. The president has called for the paving of the road from Lethem to Linden, to Linden, and then connection to the Deepwater Harbor. Now, those trucks, we just have to tie the ethanol market to Brazil. They already got the markets where they sell ethanol. So we're not only producing it for local, we're producing it for export. And then the bagasse, the same part of sugarcane, is turned into electricity. So again, that poured it to the national grid, potentially bring our costs down for electricity in our country, whilst the Amalia Falls is being completed. So the energy solution, not only just the Amalia Fall, the fact that if we grow more sugarcane, even the things like the cassava husk. So going back to that rice farmer in Region 5 or Region 3 that says, oh, you know what, I'm going to grow more cassava because, one, I can produce the production. The cassava waste can turn into energy and ethanol. So there are many value-added products that comes with this integration and the implementation of version 2.0. And that's where the excitement comes in, because it's not just one benefit to, say, as you mentioned earlier, to a miller or to just somebody that has the money to invest. It's the individual person at the lowest level of the ladder that will have the ability to join what I call the supply chain. And says, okay, I'm going to give you the cassava. Somebody else is going to take the cassava and package it. Somebody else may take the waste of the cassava and turn it into ethanol and energy. That way, end of the day, as the lowest person on the chain, I'm growing more cassava, and I'm making more money.
But then I come to the other question now. You might have a man with a small shop in a community, and he says, well, I ain't growing cassava. How will this benefit me?
Going back to the small shop. The fact is, the goods becomes cheaper because now we have the ability for transport economics, as I mentioned, trade. You know, more goods coming in at a cheaper level or producing at a cheaper level. The fact is now we have more wealth. So you have a shop at the street corner. As these communities pop up along the exits of the road to Brazil, that little shop, I mean, I'll give an example. I think it's number 58 on the road from Linden to Lethem. I don't remember exactly the name. That gentleman put up a little shop, but 10 years ago that I remember the first time I went. And, you know, you can have bought some food, you stop off. Now he's selling fuel. It's, you know, the expansion of that, every person going to let them stops there on their way. And if you go there and see what he has turned that into, that is what I call benefit of economics.
Yeah, because every time people pass through, the more people you pass through, is the bigger your market becomes.
Yes.
And the larger market, it means that you have more people shopping at your place. And even if you don't have direct benefit from the people who are traveling, the mere fact that people in your community, they're being empowered with more wealth, it means that they'll be able to buy more from you.
Absolutely.
So,
and you add into, going back to one of the key, I call hardware elements of our plan, which is the expansion of the airport. You tie that now to the implementation and the opening of the Marriott Hotel. People may say, well, what benefit does the Marriott Hotel have to me? Going back to your example of at the lowest level. Yeah. Absolutely now, the fact that if tourism increases, that person going to want to go to Berbice to see 63 Beach, because we say 63 Beach is different, is unique to Guyana. Along that route, they're going to stop off in Mahaica and says, you know, let me see the statue, let me buy something. So everywhere, again, tourism then creates a whole new industry. So linking the airport just to the Marriott Hotel. So when you see folks like say that
also you have the workers at the hotel.
Absolutely.
Who will go back to their communities and
spend their money. And they're getting a higher pay that they may have normally got at another hotel in Guyana. So again, that's creation of wealth. And the expansion of all of those funds then spreads through the economy. And that's what bubbles the economy. We've had a stable economy, you know, for the last decade. If you look at our exchange rate, it has not gone up. We probably one of the fastest growing economy in the Caribbean. You know, people say Guyana is in terrible shape. It is not. I mean, the fact is, you look at the construction market, you look at masons and carpenters. I can tell you, I'm trying to recap my yard, and I can't find masons. They're all busy doing bigger construction. They don't have time to come and cap my yard. So as we look at technical engineering schools and technical schools that the president has proposed around the country, it gives a lot of people that are unemployed or probably struggling to figure out what their next career is. Maybe I should go to technical school and learn to do carpentry or plumbing or other areas, because we have a boom in certain new industries.
Does the plan address, and we have just about 5 minutes more, does the plan address training?
Absolutely.
To fill these positions, and what is the plan like for that? Because if you're going to expand like that, you'll have to have people with the necessary skills
Absolutely.
to take these positions.
So our university level, definitely the curriculum will need to change over the next few years. The training institutes around the region is not just, but you know, Training Institute in Linden right now does a lot of that training. Moving training institutes around all the regions, so you don't have to go from Lethem to Linden to do training, say for nursing. You can do training at centers throughout the country. So the regional plan and the integration of all our regions, because each region is unique, you know.
And the plan will affect each region
differently. Each region, and so as you put that integration and training around the country, you know, Bartica, we know is the hub for the gold mining community. Now, what should happen in the gold mining community? And that's what happened in Guyana Gold Fields and many others, building plants right there. So Bartica is changing overnight as you see those industries going up right within that area. So it's not just bringing the gold out now for export. It's producing that final product right there in the region. And that's where I think even Linden is probably will become one of the fastest growing regions in our country. The fact with manufacturing, it's where you would put the manufacturing hub. With cheaper energy, that's where I believe a lot of manufacturing can transpire. Because again, the connection between Brazil, Linden, and the Deepwater Harbor, it's just the perfect location for manufacturing. So I see a lot of our regions improving. And you may not want to live in Georgetown anymore. I'm telling you that. The fact is, you may look around based on the economics of version 2.0 and says, I'm moving to Lethem, or I'm moving to Linden, or I'm going to move to Berbice, or Essequibo. You know, I want to produce rice, or I want to be part of the cereal plant. I want to study production management. And
so therefore, new careers will evolve.
Absolutely, and
The
new movements.
The youth in the country will have a wider option, and as you were
Absolutely.
saying earlier, some of the opportunities that they thought about going overseas for, they'll have them right here.
Yeah, and a simple thing like faster boat service to Northwest, which is part of our plan, brings a connection that somebody may say, you know, if we cut that time in half, maybe I can come and do business somewhere else, or I may be able to go. Northwest is a beautiful place. Get there and do another set of opportunity. So yes, version 2.0 is exciting. It's a plan for every Guyanese. It's a plan that all of us, a part of the team, have endorsed and believe it's a doable plan that each of us will be part of that development.
And the fact that it has evolved over a period of time.
Yes. It's not something that you create just for election. Election time, you produce it so that people can understand what your next 5 years look like. But the difference with the PPP plan is the fact that you can go back to the last 5 years and says, okay, was the Berbice Bridge built? Was the infrastructure upgraded? You know, was the starting of the Amalia Falls project got going? All those things you can say, wow, it happened. So I'm not bringing in a new government to figure out how they're going to write a plan to run Guyana. And you cannot do a U-turn. Guyana has gone too far on an economic path of growth and development to Vision 2020 that says we will be a modern society when these things are implemented. You do a U-turn now, we're back to 1985 politics where you know, none of us want to get to. So I urge everyone that get a chance. It's on the web to read the plan. If you don't have access, you know, you can stop and get a copy from many locations around the country, and read the part that affects you the most, and be part of that development, and be part with us to help implement version 2.0. And the vision for 2020 is a prosperous, continued creation of wealth, a modern society, secure, run by Donald Ramotar, our president.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramsaroop. There's much more that we will have to explore in future programs, but thank you for this introduction to version 2.0, Vision 2020, and we'll discuss more in future programs.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.